On a sandy patch of land on a warm afternoon, an ecosystem engineer is hard at work. A gopher tortoise, the Georgia state reptile, excavates one of the many burrows it will dig throughout its long life. The tortoises will use the burrows to shelter, to escape predators, to lay their eggs, and, because they are reptiles, to thermoregulate their body temperature. When completed, a burrow can be 10 feet deep and 40 feet in length. Over 350 other species, both vertebrate and invertebrate, benefit from the burrow, using it for food, refuge, and breeding. The eastern indigo snake, a federally endangered species, uses the burrow for shelter and, like the tortoise, to thermoregulate. With the burrow providing a constant temperature, a cool place in the summer, and a warm place in the winter. Another beneficiary of the gopher tortoise burrow is the Florida mouse, who excavates side tunnels to create its own private passageways. The gopher frog is incredibly dependent upon the burrow habitat created by the gopher tortoise. Juvenile gopher frog survival is vastly increased when young frogs harbor in these burrows. These animals have one thing in common. Their populations are all dwindling because of the decline of the gopher tortoise. The gopher tortoise is a keystone species, a species without which an entire ecosystem could collapse. Many species are depending on the gopher tortoise burrow for survival. Unfortunately, the gopher tortoise population is in decline because its primary habitat has been greatly diminished by extensive human development. The gopher tortoise and the animals that share its burrow all inhabit the longleaf pine ecosystem. The longleaf pine forest once covered approximately 92 million acres from Virginia to eastern Texas. Today, the forest has been reduced to just 4.4 million fragmented acres, less than 5% of its original range. The longleaf pine ecosystem was historically maintained by naturally occurring frequent and extensive fires. Regular low-intensity fire maintains an open tree canopy, which allows for abundant growth of grasses and forbs the gopher tortoise needs to survive. During these fires, tortoise burrows provide shelter for many species to inhabit until the fire passes. Decades of fire suppression and the lack of proper management of longleaf pine forest contributed to widespread habitat loss and fragmentation.
If you could just fill the spots that are going out for now.
In Georgia, the Gopher Tortoise Conservation Initiative formed to protect the animals through land protection, habitat restoration, and population monitoring.
In there? Yeah, I think she's in here.
The goal is to manage the land needed to maintain 65 healthy populations of tortoises. An unprecedented public and private partnership of government agencies and nonprofits are working together to acquire land and turn it into wildlife management areas accessible by all. The Oriane Society is a reptile and amphibian conservation group and a key partner in the initiative focusing on habitat restoration and management. Historically, fire would have occurred from lightning strikes during the natural fire season, typically from May through June.
All right, so welcome to Broxton Rocks. Again, thank y'all for getting here so early. I appreciate it. We need to get an early start because, as y'all know, it's going to be hot.
The Oriane Society is working with many partners to return fire to the longleaf pine ecosystem by conducting prescribed fires. Equally as important as fire is the restoration of the native grasses and forbs that tortoises depend on for food. If the partnership is successful at stabilizing tortoise declines, there is a good chance of preventing the species from being listed under the Endangered Species Act. Ensuring the future for the gopher tortoise would yield many beneficial environmental and regional economic consequences. Turtles are one of the most endangered groups of wildlife in the world. The southeastern United States is one of the most important regions in the world for turtle diversity. Conserving and maintaining habitat for gopher tortoises not only protects the hundreds of species that depend on their burrows, but will also preserve a natural heritage and help prevent the loss of this global biodiversity hotspot. Please join the effort to secure a future for gopher tortoises and their longleaf pine ecosystem. For more information on how you can help save the gopher tortoise, contact the Oriane Society at www.oriane.org.